Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our North Middlesex Council meeting for Wednesday, April 17th. Call the meeting to order. And just before we get started, I want to make note, this is Volunteer Appreciation Week. And I believe it was on Monday night. I went to a meeting in Ellis Craig where there was a lot of volunteers talking about all the things that are going on this year in North Middlesex. And it's impressive the amount of events that are being hosted this year, all by volunteers. And I want to thank them very much and just show appreciation for all they do. So thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. If anyone has any, please forward them through to our clerk. Minutes of the previous meeting from April 3rd, 2024. Any errors or omissions or business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, we need a motion to pass those minutes. Councillor Nerda, Councillor Daigle, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. At this time, we have in our regular meeting, and we have two delegations tonight. Our first one is Aqua's coming to do their fourth quarter report. Welcome.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council and staff. Tonight I will be presenting the fourth quarter financial for 2023. So in your package, you'll have a copy of a breakdown of the financials. I'll start with the Elsa Craig wastewater treatment plant. You'll notice the format is a little bit different than what we've provided previously. Reason for that is because we typically run coming under budget. This year we are coming in over budget. So Rod and I wanted to put together a better description of where we were for all of the costs and an explanation of the variances. So you'll notice Elsa Craig wastewater treatment plant, we were over in salaries and benefits. There were various SCADA upgrades that were done at the pumping stations after the VFD, which is the variable frequency drive, that was replaced as well. We did have a few third-party contractors in to do some work on the various systems that I've outlined, the HVAC. There were garage door, automatic doors installed, and security locks as well. And then ultimately, the supplies and equipment came in slightly over at about $2,700. The next one is the Park Hill Lagoon system, was slightly over. Again, we had some third-party contractors in to do some work there, as well as some replacement of faulty floats. The most notable is the North Middlesex water system. You'll notice that we were over a fair bit, mainly in the services. This was also due to the high number of locates that we did with the fiber installation, which Rod will be covering in his report. I think approximately 2,500 for the year, maybe slightly higher than that. And then also a number of a number of items were done at the Mount Carmel Reservoir, a number of repairs, pressure reducing valves, etc. And another mentionable is, again, related to the locates. There was additional fuel used, obviously, to go around to do the locates and manpower to those. And then we also had calibrations at the water tower. So overall, for the three systems, we came in over budget by about $3,000. So that concludes my financial report. I'd be happy to answer questions you might have.
Okay, questions from council. Councillor Daigle and then Councillor Pinellas.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. The locates, are we not getting reimbursed for those?
Through your worship, Councillor Daigle, no, there's nothing that has come through one call. There's nothing that we have as Aqua that has reimbursed the municipality to go towards one call and seek reimbursement, but that's a significant number of locates. We're probably 3 times of what historical numbers we've seen in the past.
All right, I'll accept that for now. The other thing, when the budget's being built, there's no money being put in for maintenance. Like, I see a lot of the things that we've been over on where, well, we had to repair this item, or we had to call in. There's no beef in the budget for maintenance of existing
There is money that's in the money for maintenance, but with the water budget that we currently have right now, it's the original budget from February 2nd, 2024. So we're operating on a 10-year budget. So what happens is when you have some of these repairs, and I'm going to use Mount Carmel Reservoir for an example, it was a very hard year for the Mount Carmel Reservoir. The municipality approximately spent close to $50,000 just in repairs on that reservoir last year. So when you're looking at those type of repairs, it's a ripple effect towards our budget because it's a lean budget, it's a 10-year-old budget. So you're going to see these things in salaries and benefits. You're going to see these things in the repairs and maintenance of items because we're there that much more. And we have to be there that much more because it's a regulated system. We have to work with these third-party contractors. We have to make sure that we're being under that regulation of Safe Water Drinking Act. We're making sure that we're following those legislative and regulatory requirements when we're doing repairs in our water facilities.
Third question is to do with tools. Are these replacement tools that are walked away?
No, again, these are tools that just over time that you just need to replace like anything else. They just don't last forever, like shovels and, you know, drills or things of that nature. It was just, you know, it's a replacement that wasn't expecting the year that we've had for 2023 and coming in, and it's just that was added. That was an unforeseen that we just weren't prepared for.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Knellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I think you kind of answered my question, but I want to talk about the vehicle maintenance and services, which is $10,000 increase over budget, specific to locates, which I find relatively high, given that's just for locates, because you've already got the fuel in there. So you must have an awful lot of breakdowns in your vehicle.
So majority of our vehicles are 2020, but there's one vehicle that's a 2013 GMC 1-ton. And that vehicle is a vehicle that we use primarily for our water main repairs. And unfortunately, we've had 13 water main repairs last year. And it's just the vehicle that I needed to have on the road because there was just a lot of uncertainty came when it comes to fiber installation, directly boring through our water main. So that truck needed to have tires, needed to have brakes, needed to have you know, springs repaired. Like it's a good truck. It's just needed to invest in that vehicle to keep it going under the circumstances that we had for 2023.
But isn't that just the cost of doing business as opposed to downloading it to a municipality?
It's a cost of doing business that, you know, you try to have an answer for what am I going to spend repairs on that vehicle. And we do a pretty good job. It's just, this was an extra cost that was unforeseen that I wasn't expecting to have in 2023.
And I get that, but I guess I'm still trying to understand if there's an unexpected cost to Aqua, how do you justify downloading it to our taxpayers?
How do well, one way or the other, that truck needed to get repaired. So how do I and then I needed to have a vehicle without going buying another vehicle. It's just the same idea. I could have bought one and then I still would have been thinking, well, who's going to pay for this vehicle?
Right. Okay.
You know,
well, it's an answer, but I don't like the answer.
Yeah. No, yes.
It may be that we just need some clarification on the agreement for council to see it. It sounds like there's some dysfunction here on the agreement. Go ahead.
Through your worship, if I can just expand on that a little bit. When the agreement first started, we gave our best estimate of what the cost would be to run the facilities with staffing and vehicles and fuel and all the rest of it. So that was sort of based on when the agreement started. And then, you know, as you can imagine, through the years, things change. And like Rod mentioned, the maintenance budget, for example, that will change through the year. This type of contract, we do have the ability to provide you with each year a new estimate if you so choose to do that, so that we are not coming in significantly higher at the end of the year. So if we're seeing that trend is continuing through, you know, the first and second quarter of this year, then we can certainly come to you and say, you know, we feel that the budget should be increased. Hopefully that answers your question.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, What you're telling me then is that if you need to replace a truck, we're going to pay for that.
Ultimately, to run your systems.
Well,
yeah,
over the long term, but not in one shot.
Right.
Okay, I'm getting confused here, but I'll let it.
Okay, Counselor Irwin.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, and I just want to pick up on previous point, if I may. Are we then anticipating increased costs this year, like we've seen last year? And if so, can you identify them early for us?
So through your worship, yes, we actually had this conversation before we came today, and that was one of my questions to Rod is, are we seeing that trend continuing? And yes, we are. So absolutely. Our quarter for the first quarter of 2024 hasn't closed yet, but we are definitely looking at that, and we can come back to council with a report to show where we are for Q1, and then whichever way you'd like to proceed, we can certainly do that.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be a great report to get. You have a follow-up, Counselor Irwin?
Simply this, your worship. So not just then increased cost of 2024, are we looking at a new scenario given the inflationary times that we're in? And should we be having a deeper discussion?
Well, we certainly, through your worship, we certainly have noticed increased costs since COVID across the board, and inflation, of course, as well. So I would anticipate that this would continue through the term. So we can certainly look at forecasting what that will look like in the coming years, and then perhaps open up the contract to have a better idea of what that looks like.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions at this point? No other questions?
So I'd like to start off with North Middlesex wastewater system operational report. We'll go to page number 4, just to highlight the section maintenance and capital activities. But on I think it's page 7, or sorry, page 5, that's where the fourth quarter actually starts, and we have them listed. Under the wastewater system, there's a lot of maintenance that we've been working on. Capital works, we had the SCADA system upgrade at the wastewater treatment facility. We're about 98% completed. There's just a few things that are still outlying that they're working on, and it's more computer programming related. Just to give an example, the William Street sewage pumping station pump, there's 3 pumps and 1 pump operates at any given time, but for whatever reason, it's deciding to turn itself off. It turns itself back on. There's no concern there, but there's no reason right now at that time for this to happen. It's a programming issue that we have, and been very fortunate to work with our service provider and also the contractor that installed this electrical work. They've been doing phenomenal work. Very happy with the project, but this is something that we're just still working on. Another example would be blower 3. There's 3 blowers on our aeration system. 1 operates at any given time, but blower 3, for whatever reason, decides to turn itself off. The other blower picks up. The other blower 3 will come back into scenario, but again, a lot of trending, a lot of back into seeing what the pattern is, or trying to figure out the pattern, looking at the code, tweaking that code, or if not, rewriting that code in order to get this coming up. But overall, this project was a great project, and we're right there on par. On page number 7, we have our percentage of work orders completed, and I wanted to talk a little bit about alarm summary. If we go on the next page, you look at LC Craig, a total of 6 alarms. Historically, LC Craig has probably seen 17 in a year, 19 in a year. So this is a good indication that we're working with our operations staff and our SCADA systems to keep those numbers down for us. Page 9, performance assessment report. Again, we have a lot of data when it comes to flows, both raw and final effluent. A lot of quality parameters for both our raw and our final effluent. So I'm not going to go into detail, but is there any questions that anybody may have pertaining to the wastewater operations report?
Any questions at this time? I would have one, and it has to do with the SCADA system. Is there a yearly cost to SCADA to keep it updated and keep it upgraded? And was that included in our budget at the time? Because at the time, as you say, it's a 10-year-old budget. So were those,
Yeah.
I assume there's yearly cost to this.
Yeah, through your worship, we have the yearly cost we have is like a preventive maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay. Agreement with our service provider to look at that, and that what that covers also is a lot of this breakdown as well. If there's something that goes on or some type of faults that we have, we can call them up and they'll come in and work on that for us and help us resolve those issues.
So that's covered in the agreement.
Covering the agreement.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions at this point? No, carry on.
Okay, when it pertains to our water system, again, I'd like to start off maybe on page number 4, I believe, when it comes to maintenance and capital activities. We started to list them there, but it's a long list, and I think we go over on page 7. That's where fourth quarter comes into play. If I go to the next page, this is where the fun stuff starts for me. Locates, we have at the bottom 2,290. But I want to upgrade that up to 2,500. And the reason why I want to do that is because we know that we have locate requests where we have, I call it a country block, where there's a long linear water main that we have to locate, and there's associated distribution valves with that, and you can associate with a number of water services with that. So I don't think it's outrageous to say that we can up that number. To put that in perspective, again, this is something we usually see as, for 2022, we had 892 locates. 2021, we had 1,228 locates. That number was a record for us, and that was due to the Park Hill fiber being installed here in town. 2020, we had 718 locates. In 2019, 670 locates. So the locates have been increasing year after year after year. But this number here really put us, when it comes to salary and benefits, that's an operator and a half just dedicated every day just to do locates. Number of water main repairs and water service repairs, we had 60. Historically, we look at 50, 5 being the top end when it comes to water main repairs. We did 13 last year. 5 was our regular breakdown maintenance that we did for water main repairs. Another 5 was due to fiber installation, directly boring the water main. So it picks at 10. And we had another 2 due to the Park Hill Main Street construction project. And then 1 was due to a culvert replacement where the contractor accidentally hit the water main there. So that's 13, highest number that we've seen so far historically for municipality of North Middlesex. Water services that was directionally bored through was 5. Again, I normally have 5 in a year that repair on maybe on the municipal side. The rest of them was all service box repairs, valve box repairs for distribution valves and hydrant valves. So a big year for us. A lot of work that we went with, working on Park Hill, Main Street, with water tower, with SCADA and regular maintenance that we do. Page number 10, we have the performance assessment report, total flows, and we have 5 data loggers working with a third party. So we're right close there. I think installation is going to start next month, but all materials in. I met with these contractor. We went on site. McGilvery Booster Station is probably going to be the hardest one. Regional Water Supply and our partners with Auckland Grand Bend, they're working on a construction project at that booster station right now, but maybe later this summer we'll be able to get in there and go and install that data logger. But pretty excited about that work, so we can get in and monitor our flows as well on a first time basis. Other than that, any questions regarding the
Questions?
Operation
Councillor
report.
Keough and then Councillor Irwin.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Rod, with the high number of locates that were done, how many of those locates would have been relative to the installation of this fiber optic that's going down the side of the road?
With 90%, 95% of it, like there's yeah.
Thank you.
Counselor Irwin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I have two questions, one on this report and one on the previous one. On this one, and it relates to the locate issue. This is my ignorance. Is it common industry practice not to charge for locates?
So this is still something that I'm not aware of. And maybe for me as Aqua to look into that. It's just not something that I have done in the past. I think it'd be more something I can work with our municipal partners and looking, exploring that avenue to work together towards. But me as myself and Aqua, I have not done that.
I'm curious, and this isn't my follow-up question, Your Worship, if large municipalities like, say, the City of London, if they would charge for locates. I'm curious.
I'm uncertain of that if they do.
Yeah, I have a second question, if I
Okay,
may.
go ahead.
In the previous report, on page 10, if I can pull it up here, we're looking at, sorry, that's the wrong report. The client operations, I think, there we are. Page 10. This deals with the issue of capacity. Not that one, peak flow, there, right there, average daily raw flow. And the descriptive there talks about capacity, and we're certainly looking at that in terms of future development in our community. And I'm seeing the numbers, with exception of 2 months, higher than last year. What is causing that? And what can we anticipate in the years ahead as we proceed with our own development challenges that we have?
So any high numbers like that you see is directly related to high rain events or high snow melt.
Okay,
That's what that comes down to.
all right. Really? All right,
Okay,
okay.
Yeah,
Any other-
we've had some high rain events. One in December was particularly significant. Late December, almost into early January, where specifically in LC Craig, it took a significant amount of time for that plant to recover. Even though the rain stopped, during the day, it takes quite some time for it to come back, for those flows to recover.
and that has to do with that infiltration conversation.
We're suspecting that it's direct. We've had, we're in good shape because we have the collection system, closed circuit TV, the collection system, which is done for the town of LC Craig. So we feel fairly confident. There's nothing like we would call like a smoking gun to say that's where it's coming from. But the information that we're receiving is that some historical past information is that this is what it looks like it's leading towards, some pumps and roof gutters like that.
Okay, thank you. Jaden, was there something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, thank you, through your worship. And Rod touched on it, and we touched on this a little bit during our budget deliberations as well. And what we're talking about here is essentially rainwater getting into the sanitary system and using up some of that capacity. So we see those peaks in the flows during when there's a heavy rain period. So we know that the Elsa Craig system is susceptible to inflow and infiltration, and we are working on developing some strategies and plans to look at addressing that, because it's causing capacity issues both at the pumping station and at the plant. So through the detailed design we're working on right now for the William Street pumping station, we're getting more information on that, working with Dillon Consulting, but we'll be continuing to work with Aqua on developing strategies for that.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Ellison, you had a question?
Rod, I heard you say that you had a couple of really busy years with the water tower and the Main Street and all the locates, and appreciate all the efforts that you guys have done. Do you anticipate that your workload will decrease now that those projects have been completed?
No, because right now, I'll give you an example. Fiber has not stopped. So first 3 months of historically, we see maybe 100 locates in the first 3 months. So I see 100 locates per month, easy. April we're well above 100 locates for the month of April. So locates is keeping us busy. Right now, my focus is trying to get all our contractual work that we're done. So we're talking about, hydrant flushing, blow-off flushing, valve cycling, try to get as much as I can done early in the spring, early summer, because I'm expecting some of these capital projects to be awarded and tendered, and we're going to be working towards. So, for example, let's say Park Hill Lagoon discharge or Queen Street project. Like, I want to be able to be boots on the ground, ready to be able to work on those projects for you. So there's the other question I guess I would be asking is, what are we going to approve for next 2025? Is it the next phase of that Queen Street project, or is it maybe another William Street sewage pumping station, or maybe possibly LC Craig? So I still foresee this with us. The other thing that's that I want to maybe integrate as well is that LC Craig wastewater treatment plant. It's an 18-year-old plant now. We talked a little bit about Mount Carmel Reservoir and the amount of money that we had to look at repairs. That's a really tough question, because we're having our facilities at an age now where I'm just keeping that preventative maintenance going. So, is it going to happen in 2024? 2025? We'll have to wait and see what that brings for us. But I wouldn't be surprised if, some major work that would have to be done just to keep these facilities going, just based on the shape that they're in and the age that they're in.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Hodges, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Couple questions, if I may, and direct them to Rod. First one, I don't know whether it's just chatter, but I'm hearing that maybe the pressures in the water are dropping on the east side of, say, of North Middlesex there in the Clandeboy area. Is there any truth that, number one, that there may be upping the capacity out of the Lucan water thing, shipping it more, putting more water this way, to keep the pressures up? I don't know whether that's right or not. That's the first question.
Yeah, we've McGillivray East system, so it's particularly the highest point there, Highway 4, right at Mount Carmel Drive, Tasco Drive. We're having a lot of difficulty there maintaining adequate pressure that would be for our residents, especially when it comes to our summer months. We really have a hard time. And the reason why that is because that particular system is right off the trunk main at the McGillivray booster. So that's McGillivray Drive and Cassidy, that big booster station. That feeds all the way up into that northeast corner. There's nothing really I can do there to try to increase that pressure, because my fear is that if I increase it by a pressure reducing valve, to put more pressure on the lower water main just to make the top end water main more viable. So basically taking it from 80 pounds, if I want to put it at 100 pounds, I don't know if I want to put my water main at 100 pounds with the age that it is. So I'm looking at alternative solutions. One of it is our partnership with Lucan Biddulph. Maybe we can do some valving strategically that we can add on to the Lucan booster station right at Denfield and Prince William. So I'm just kind of waiting for warmer weather, because I want to put these teleluggers that we're talking about, our boundary meters. We have them that we can put outside above ground, so that when we do this test, we can actually have some data that we can share with municipal staff, Lucan Biddulph, and see what kind of improvements we made, so that these residents can enjoy the hot summer and still have some distribution pressure.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that answer. The other one is just information. If anything else, being in the area I live in, there's a lot of people go up to Wednesday Road and they said, what is going on with the water plant there at Brinsley? Is there anything going on there that's going to affect our water system, or can you disclose as to what benefits they are making to that plant there?
So it's a lot of electrical. That's what they're doing, is an electrical upgrade. So it shouldn't affect anything. It should just actually just improve their electricity, I guess, when it comes to VFDs and electrical panels and operations. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I have one, and that it has to do with these, when they bore through our water mains and our water lines, and we've had a number of breaks. Are we being recouped the cost of those by the people who are doing it?
So, yeah, that was a great question. So what we do is that anytime anything like this happens, I create a capital work order for staff. And it's a location, it's the name of the contractor, and it records all our time, so our labor. We generate a part list, and I submit that to municipality, and then municipality then invoices that to these contractors, and I'm sure hopefully with a markup on top of that. And some of these parts is pretty expensive. Like a water main coupling could easily be almost $1,000. Looking at, these type of repairs.
So I just follow that through to you, Jaden. Now, so we're recouping those repairs, because some of the repairs when we bring somebody in are quite costly.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Through you, we're tracking all those. We're creating work orders and invoicing those back to the utility company that's doing the work.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Jaden, we're invoicing them. Are we getting paid? It's okay.
I defer that to Estelle.
Is there any other questions? Still looking that up? No other questions? Okay, yeah,
Right, thank you.
thank you very much. Oh, Jaden, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Through your worship, I just want to acknowledge the great work that our Aqua team does here. It is a challenging system we have for sure. It's showing its age a bit. It's an expansive water main network. A lot of facilities are getting old. And we've got some great dedicated staff working on the system, and Rod and his team do an amazing job. So just want to say thank you and acknowledge that.
That's well said. And the questions that are asked here today are not about the service that's being provided. It's just to try to get a handle on costs and where are we going from there. So yeah, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thanks. Next, we have Middlesex Federation of Agriculture, a year in review. And Ian, is Jason coming with you or? Okay, so you're putting this one alone? All right, I think everybody knows Ian Bremner here at the table and past, I guess the last one was deputy mayor, wasn't it? The last role. So here at the municipality. So whenever you're ready, Ian, go ahead. Your mic. There we go.
Unfortunately, Jason couldn't make it, but he's has one dairy barn he's running and he's building another one. So his time's fairly busy. But we feel as a Federation of Agriculture, we should make contact with local councils and just come up to date on where we're at. As you probably know, we're probably the economic driver for North Middlesex and quite possibly for Middlesex County agricultural sector. So we feel we have a lot to offer. Got a few stats on agriculture at a glance, which is a couple years out of date. So the 628,592 acres of farmland are probably less than that in 3 years, which is one of our, seems like we just harp on that, but that's one of our main concerns is the loss of farmland, because once it's gone, it's not coming back. And it's probably not as much problem in North Middlesex, but it's still, we'll lose some and we keep losing more. And the province had a thought to really lose a lot when they went with the triple lots separation.
Yeah.
Although I can't believe anybody thought that would be a good program, but anyways. And again, like say Middlesex we're not the strongest in any commodity, but we're near the top in a lot of them. And I remember when we did the plowing match back 20 plus years ago, you sort of looked at what's Middlesex big on, and we nearly every crop that you grew in Ontario was grown in Middlesex at some point. So that's one of our strengths of our agriculture is our diversity. And as I say, it gives economic contribution in 21 and 1.3 billion in Middlesex, so a fair bit of activity. We're becoming a little more balanced. There's over 30% of the farm operators are female now, which is a a good trend. But as always, we're an older group. So as a federation itself, we've had several projects going on this year. We're one of the original sponsors of the Food for Future, presented by Peggy O'Neill, and it's on, I think, CFPL Saturday mornings, and then there's a podcast through the national now. It's been growing, and we're proud of that. She does quite a good show. If you ever run across it, it's worth listening to. We also had a project to put up field signs that showed for the urban population, what that crop is, because a lot of them have no idea. We got some distributed, and this year we're going to make it more aggressive, except for putting in front of a field the sweet corn. The sweet corn owner was not impressed, so we had to move that. But he didn't want or Bondell didn't want their field to be located. But anyways, that's another project. And we're also one of the sponsors of a culinary tour from Fanshawe College that educated students on local agriculture. As a personal one, we did a bus tour for our members report, B&H at Hamilton and Niagara Park. Then we put a lot of time into the Bill 97, which I already brought up. We had a positive meeting with Rob Flack, the member for Elgin Middlesex, and it got reversed, but everybody ran like a bugger and said, well, we had nothing to do with it. So I'm still not sure who at the province thought it was a good idea. But it's again, the trend, farmland's to a lot of the urban planners and stuff, it's a holding symbol, I think. You just have it as agriculture until somebody else wants to do something with it, which isn't the way we need to go. We've also visited every municipality in Middlesex last year, and we're working on doing this year again. One of our ongoing projects is we're a sponsor for the new Children's Museum. We're organized, about 6 counties of contributing to their agricultural display. I think hopefully it's open this year or next at the latest. Between all this and the provincial FA, we put $50,000 in the project, and hopefully we can teach a few urban kids a bit more about agriculture. Excuse me. A problem that's just starting to show up is it's in Ham Center was talk with stormwater management for agriculture, trying to put a charge on it. And unfortunately, CM Watson's sort of the drivers behind that. So if they're into that, then that covers a lot of studies. I don't think they realized we have something called the Drainage Act that covers rural things, but they had in the early preliminaries, they were going to put a land charge. I assume any buildings in the rural areas. So like I say, if CM Watson's are sort of the drivers behind it, because they were in Hamilton and the number of studies they do, unless the province comes out with some pretty firm rules, that could be an ongoing problem. But otherwise, until I could also bring up our wish for a little different ratio in the tax rate, but for now I'll let that go, and you gotta throw it out. And until at least the province finally does their next or change of the assessments, if that ever happens, and we'll have to see how things balance out with the increase in housing prices. It may balance out a little better than it has the last 3 years, 4 or 5 years. But anyways, that's sort of my highlights. And like I say, I've been in agriculture long enough to know there's ups and downs, and we're in a middle range right now. As I said to a couple of people, we were cash crop farmers the last 3 or 4 years. With the way the prices are going, we're heading back to more of just a crop farm. doing it for the fun of it.
I see a couple of people agreeing with you on that.
Yeah.
Ian, couple of points to
Yeah.
your presentation. We do have a stormwater charge, but only in our urban areas.
Yeah.
As I think you're aware of that. But
Yeah.
we have that in our urban areas,
Yeah.
a small charge here, and that's needed.
Yeah.
Now. The other thing you mentioned is about the loss of farmland. Do you have any stats on how much farmland has been gone from Middlesex County through growth at the
Person, I
city
don't
and at
know
the
if they
county?
broke us down to where we've lost that, but I expect, like I say, North Middlesex hasn't been a major, but around London and Strathroy, Caradoc.
Yeah.
And Luke and Badalus had proposals for a fair amount of acres. And
Well, yeah, I just wondered if you had any stats on that. I was
you
curious.
could lose a couple thousand acres, Brian, and not really notice it till it's gone.
One comment before I turn over to council is, it seems there's more farm gate sales.
Yeah.
And there's some very high-end farm gate sales.
Yeah.
And I know in North Middlesex, there's some quality sales
Yeah.
at farm gate. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah.
But,
I'll find out because the farm beside us sold yesterday, so.
Oh, okay. Listen, I'll turn it over for questions from council. Councilor Keo.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Ian, I'm not going to put you on the spot, or I'm not going to hold you to this till death do us part. But with the Ministry of, the Middlesex County Federation of Agriculture, working in partnership with the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, do you foresee, or is there any rumblings of any type of expropriation for these useless battery plants in Middlesex County, such as the expropriation of 770 acres in Wilmot and what went on in Elgin? It seems to be all around us.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the OFA has come out, but then Wilmot gets hard because they won't even say what they're doing there. It's just sort of rumors, but I'm sure we've already taken a firm position. And if the government doesn't know what our position is on, maybe not necessarily using farmland without even looking at alternatives, they haven't been listening too well. We certainly got a concern, and the battery storage
Yes.
thing. Now they've thrown out some acres they're going to use, which seems a bit off, but it's still, you lose 100 here, 100 there. It's just, like you say, it just grows.
But are these organizations working
Yeah.
diligently at trying to keep this at bay?
Yeah,
That's what I want to know.
yeah, that's what, like I say, it's been one of our major projects at the provincial level is the loss of farmland. I'm sure it's on the top of when they meet with the province. Unless it's for a really specific thing, that's going to be brought up to them.
Okay. Other questions? Councilor Canellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Ian, I appreciate your presentation. It's always interesting, as every year. Thank you very, very much. But I do have a question for you, and I was surprised to see your stack here at the very bottom of the page of general information here. That 56% of the farmers are small farms and generate less than $100,000 in revenue. So my question for you is, given the size of farms here in North Middlesex, is that not conducive, or is that not symbolic of what farm sizes are across Ontario, or do you have an answer to that question?
We're probably fairly average, I would think,
Really?
for big farms and small farms. We're probably, because there's not a lot of, well, let's face it, there's not room for a lot of 5,000 acre farms.
No. No, there's
But
not.
it's a very small percentage, you maybe know, drive probably 90% of the production.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ian.
Any other questions for Ian at this time? It looks like there isn't. Ian, and thank you very much for coming.
Well, thanks for your time.
Good to see you again.
Just
Thank you.
one personal thing
Go ahead.
on our road.
Yep.
If you're gonna have speed signs at Sylvan and Hungry Hollow, they probably should be done right. Because if you come from Hungry Hollow, it's supposed to be 60 all the way to Sylvan. And the ones at Sylvan, they have a 60 and 80. The only trouble is they don't match across the road.
Okay.
They're about 500 feet apart. So
I see Vance is writing down comments to what you said. He's gonna check that out. All right. All right, thank you.
But anyways,
Anyway,
like I say, it's just a personal peeve of mine that
all right. All right, no, I see Vance is writing that down, so he's gonna be checking it.
your time.
Thanks, Ian. Take care. Our first department report is from Stell, and that is on council remuneration.
Thank you, your worship. Before I start with that report, I would just, if you may, answer Councillor Keel's question
Yes.
earlier.
Perfect. Thank you.
We are being paid, we have been paid for some invoices. So far, we've received $4,751 of payments. And there are invoices outstanding for $15,841, but they are paying some.
Okay. Okay,
You're welcome.
all right, go ahead.
All right, so the next, the report in front of you outlines the council remuneration for 2023. We are mandated to bring a report to council. I am a little bit late, but I'm here to report on council remuneration and expenses for the year. So the report in front of you outlines that remuneration and expenses for 2023. I open the floor to questions.
Any questions on it? No? Okay. We need a motion, to accept the report. Councillor Nerda, Councillor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And our next report is Jaden, I believe, from infrastructure, and that is on the water meter replacement project.
Okay, thank you, your worship, through you. This is a report on 2024 water meter replacement project. This is a project that was approved for the 2024 capital budget, $125,000, and we are looking to replace approximately 200 residential water meters within the municipality. These are life cycle renewals, and it is working with a third party, Evans Supply Limited. And this is also the vendor which supplies our water meters, who we have a good working relationship with currently. So there is a lot of information within the report that I wanted to include for council's reference. A little bit of background on our water meter system. We have about 2,400 water meters installed throughout the municipality. And these are each read quarterly. And then that goes out for the quarterly water bills. These water meters have a lifespan of approximately 15 to 20 years. And as they wear out, the moving parts inside can become less precise and means inaccurate readings, or they can break down, which impacts our water billing. In reference to our asset management plan, the average age of the municipality's water meters is approximately 16 years. And the estimated useful life, as per the asset management plan, is 20 years. So the average condition of our current water meters in the asset management plan is rated as 20% or in poor condition. We also do not currently have a well-defined proactive life cycle replacement program for water meters. So I am recommending that staff be directed to develop such a policy to have a more formalized program of life cycle replacement for water meters. With respect to the proposed contract with Evans Supply Limited, this is proposed to be a single source supply. And the reasons for that are that Evans Supply Limited currently supplies us with our water meters, which are the Neptune meters compatible with our reading technology. And we have a good working relationship with them currently. They have prepared a good quality proposal, and we feel their prices for new meters and installations are reasonable and competitive. And we're confident that we can successfully deliver this project with them. So I've included the prices there of the meters, as well as the price to install the meters. It's $95 for your average meter, to the cost to go in and replace it with a new meter. And that also includes all of the coordination with the property owners, which will help this project be completed in a timely manner. One other thing, or maybe one or two other things that I noted in the report. We do have a bit of a backlog of zero read water meters that are not reading any flow at all. So that can be caused by various issues such as water being shut off and not used, or the meter could have just failed, or there could be potential meter tampering. And another goal of this project that we'll undertake with Evans Supply Limited would be to complete a statistical sample of the 183 water meters, which comprises about 60% of all the meters out there, just to understand how those meters are reading, determine if they're reading accurately or not. So that may tell us if we should, be tackling the majority of those water meters, which are the 183s, which we have approximately 1,400 of them out there. So the recommended motion is to receive the report for information, to enter into the contract with Evans Supply at a cost of $122,089. Authorize the clerk to execute the contract documents and direct staff to fill up that life cycle management strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaden. Questions from council? Councilor Nerda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jaden, the 200 water meters, what is the percentage of this on the total amount of this what does this represent? Is that the 60% that you said?
Through the mayor. So there's 2,400 water meters. The 200 is just over 10% of that, or sorry, just under 10%.
Thanks, Jaden.
Okay, other questions? Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
I'm all in favor. Through you, Mayor Rob, to Jaden, I'm all in favor of this. I hope this gets passed. If this does get passed, how soon will they start doing these? Because, I would like to get these water meters back in operation, especially the zero read ones, as soon as possible.
Through you, your worship. So as soon as this will be passed, we have the agreement drafted and ready to go. So we get those signed right away and get right to it. We just have to provide Evans Supply with a list of the meters that we want to have replaced. And we just completed our most recent quarterly water reads. So we just put that list together and we'd get on it right away.
Okay, Councilor Daigle, then Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you, Jaden, the zero reads. Can we build a database on them? Like the shutoffs are going to be the shutoffs year to year, unless we have a tournament. But it's the other ones we're worried about. That I guess is it an ongoing thing? Those are the ones we got to look at right away.
Through the mayor, that's correct. Those will be the approximately 130 zero reads of the meters that aren't functioning properly. That will be the first ones we tackle. And through those investigations and going to see the meters, we'll be able to understand what is going on with them, why they're not working, and just get new meters in there so they're working from now on.
Okay, Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Jaden, for the interest of council and for interest of all the ratepayers, with the replacement of the new meters, so we're going to replace the ones that are no reads, the ones that are inaccurate reads. Do we have any type of compensation in mind? No, sorry, not compensation. Any type of revenue that may be generated with the replacement of these inaccurate and non-working meters? Like, do we know how much we would recoup or recapture back in water rate?
Through the mayor, I'm not exactly sure what that number would be. Ideally we're going to see for meters that have failed or aren't working properly, they're now reading properly. So we're obviously collecting that water is being billed properly. So, I mean, there's certainly going to be, I would expect, increased revenue from getting functional water meters in there. What that number is, we'd have to do a bit of analysis and follow up to see. But we could certainly, once the new meters are installed, follow up to see, what the numbers look like for that.
It'd be just interesting to know what the percentage of correct readings, how it would offset our expense level on this. More for just interest.
Okay, Councillor Pinelson.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Jaden, a couple of years ago, we had we supported a strategy that when these meters were replaced, it'd be put into meter pits at the road. Is that still the strategy, or are these meters going into the dwelling itself?
Through the mayor, the majority would just go into the dwelling. If it is an existing meter that's within a meter pit, then it would be replaced within the meter pit. But these are just taking the meter out and putting them back where they are. And the majority of those are within the dwelling.
So have we then shied away from the meter pit program?
Through the mayor, it's kind of two different programs, but I think as previously discussed through budget, we have backed off that program a little bit. We're not, we don't have a program in place right now to install a whole lot of meter pits at the road. Currently, we will still install them where we think it's appropriate to. However, the purpose of this program is just to replace the meters where they currently are.
I think it's just to add to that, if you remember at budget time and last year we talked, we put a lot of money into budget, more than what we could even do. And we never came close to even installing them. And I think staff has taken a little more strategic approach to it and put them in where there's a new line going in or where it's deemed needed. I think is that fair to say, Jaden?
Yeah, through your worship, that's correct. And we think by targeting these meters that aren't functioning right now, replacing meters that are reaching the end of their life cycle, we're going to see that water loss number go down, because it's volumes of water that aren't being recorded right now. So it's directly addressing that, and I think the easiest way possible.
But it was my understanding that some of these meter pits we put in the rural areas where historically there's been more leaks between the roadside and the buildings in the back of the end of the lane, where the leaks are more difficult to detect.
And I don't think you're not abandoning that program. It's just a separate program. Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Councillor Irwin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, big supporter of life cycle maintenance. Are is not water meters covered under the asset?
Through the mayor, yes, they are. They are within our asset plan. And I spoke to some of those stats there, where it says the average age is 16 years and they're in poor condition. So there is some information in the report about that.
Okay. Any other questions? No other questions? This is a great report coming through. We had a report brought to us before, and it was a very expensive report. You can imagine which council turned down because it was a $2 million investment, and to have those meters. And this is a very reasonable and I think appropriate way to go forward. So is there any other questions? Moved by Councillor Daigle, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodgins. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next report is from Manager of Public Works, Vance, and that's the 2024 gravel tender.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of the council. Before you this evening, I have a report with our gravel tender results. And essentially, the proposed motion is that council award the tender to E&W Blaine Trucking and Excavating for $758,000, including HSD. Council may be aware that we tender every year for the supply and application of granulars for our gravel road. This year, one of the main differences is we're going with the granular M gravel as opposed to granular A. Granular M is more suited for gravel roads and shouldering purposes as opposed to granular A. Essentially, also in the discussion part of the report, we have the bid results. All bids received were complete, and there were no bid irregularities. And I'm prepared to answer any questions with respect to the bid results and recommendations.
Questions from council on this? Counselor Canellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Vance, how many tons of gravel are we actually purchasing? And is this consistent with previous years, or is there an increase or decrease, given the delegation we had a few weeks ago?
Through your worship, in previous years, we've definitely tendered for more gravel. However, this year in total, we have 50,000 metric tons. 40,000 of that would be for our granular roads, and 10 would be for construction purposes. In the past, like I said, we've tendered for higher amounts. However, this is significantly more than what we tendered for last year.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Canellison, if you'll remember, we tendered higher than what we ever took. Like we tendered, we approved in budget and tendered for more gravel than what we were actually purchasing at the time, if you remember. That had happened in the past.
I do recall that I thought we typically tender for about 75,000 tons. Is that not correct?
Right.
Yes.
That's what the tender was, but we didn't in fact use that. And I just would make comment, we talked to Vance about how much can you do? Like, let's order the gravel if we all remember that. What can we do? What can we get graded? What can we work with? And that was the numbers they came up with.
Okay, I'm just concerned out of the delegations you.
Absolutely, but that's, it isn't to cut it back.
Okay.
It's to what can we get done?
All right.
Okay, other questions, council? No other questions? We have a recommendation in front of us. Counselor Canellison, Counselor Nerda, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Vance.
Thank you.
Our next one is the passing of accounts.
Thank you, your worship. The report in front of you outlines the municipality's expenses for the period of March 29th through to April 12th, totaling $2,219,112.59. I have not received any questions, so I now open the floor to questions.
Questions? Yeah, questions? Any other questions? Counselor Canellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Yes, I didn't send you any questions because actually I was relying on my fellow councilors to ask these questions, but apparently they did not do them either. My question for you, Estelle, is the school taxes, the school board, various school board taxes. Has there been an increase? And if so, what percentage of the increase is that?
So you're talking about the 2024 taxes that are due. I have not looked at that yet, but the payments that were made were based on 25% of 2023 total taxes.
So we don't know if any of the school boards have increased their budget or their levies. We don't know.
I'm not going to say I don't know. I'm going to say I have not looked into it. So I probably have received the information, but I'm busy doing other things.
I look forward to hearing that answer when you do feel comfortable sharing the information. Thank you.
Any other questions on the accounts payable? No other questions on accounts payable? We need a motion to accept this for information. Counselor Daigle, Counselor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Estelle. Our next committee reports, Lake Huron Primary,
Nothing at this time.
ABCA.
Actually, yes, I did want to ask my fellow councilors because we do have a meeting tomorrow. One of the items on the agenda is the capital asset management plan for the Asalba Bayfield, and there's an indication that they're looking to download the cost of the capital asset management plan to the various municipalities at a rate of about 1.4 to 2.2% levy increase. And I just want to know where my fellow councilors stand on this so I can make any comments tomorrow if you so wish.
Go ahead, Counselor Keel.
Do they have a justification for that?
Yes, to cover the cost of the asset management plan.
So will you have a little more information after tomorrow to share with us on the thinking there?
I will have more information following that meeting. They're looking for the board to approve the request to download the cost of the asset management plan. And I guess one of my questions will be, what are the municipalities, what are the CAs doing?
Yes.
Are they downloading it to municipalities as well? To me, it seems, I kind of feel like it should be an internal cost absorbed by the general operations, and I'm not comfortable downloading it to municipalities specifically. That's just my opinion.
Okay, it'd be great to hear what their answer is to those. That's a great question. I'd like to hear their answer from. Counselor Daigle.
My thought on that though is conservation authorities have no way of raising money on their own.
Yeah.
It is through us, they raise their money. Other than provincial grants. And so it's gonna come to us one way or the other in our budget.
Okay, any other questions? No other questions? Okay, thank you. Blue water recycling,
I received the board notes too late for publication, so I'm going to forward them to Alan tonight.
for
And
the
they'll
next
be
meeting.
available for the next meeting.
Perfect. Economic development,
We have a meeting tomorrow night.
local school advisory. Counselor Irwin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to add the economic development, if I may, there's also the following week, follow-up meeting for the new small business or the business group, right?
On April 25th.
April 25th, here in Park Hill, starting at 6 o'clock. Thank you. All right. Well, that's fine. We're a team. Minutes are there, for, discussion and review, Your Worship, and then we have some, recommend a motion in terms of changing. And I want to say to staff again, to members of the committee and to yourself and to the deputy mayor, thank you for your assistance in the presentation to the Thames Valley District School Board. I couldn't say it went really well. I think it was well received. Got some good feedback afterwards in terms of the information and how it was presented. And I think we really did make a case in terms of the board understanding potential growth in our community.
If I can add to that as well, I think was Arlene Morel made the comment that we have ways and we have means of speaking to ministers that they don't have. And that was talked about just briefly with the county and possibly the county doing something at AMO, doing a presentation. And there was even a talk because of that presentation that was made by North Middlesex that maybe that would go into that. So that's just an add-on. So is there any questions for the local school advisory? And no questions? Well, we do have two recommendations coming forward. I'm sure you've all read that, the changes to the bylaw. We need a mover and a seconder for that. Councilor Nerda, Councilor Irwin. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, the Recreation Committee.
Okay, you have the minutes before you from our December meeting. And then on the point 2 is our recommendation. We had a lady who was looking to form a youth hub in the Elsa Craig area. Based on, to give our the town kids a place to go for a couple hours in the evening where there might be foosball games, there might be a few computer terminals, get them off the streets, give them a place to be. And she's just in the sourcing right now of this. She's looked at other places, talked with them. And so right now she's looking for possible facilities, different things like that. But it's to give a positive place for the kids to go after school, to supper time type of thing, 5 days a week, hopefully, depending, it could be better, depending on the uptake. And what she's looking for is just support from council to say that they're willing to look at this. She's been told funding's done for this year already, but they won't be up and able to run this year anyway. But she's just looking for a letter of support from us.
Okay. Any questions from council on that? Councilor Pinellas?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, actually, Councilor Daigle, if I may. My first question, of course, is my understanding is that the person who's presenting this is a resident of Narren. And she's looking to establish a youth hub in Elsa Craig.
In the area.
In the area, Elsa Craig, because it's the closest urban area.
Would it be open to all youth in Elsa Craig, including Craigwood Youth Service?
I can't say about the youth services. I guess it depends on their terms and conditions. If they can be out and about, I would expect they are qualified same as anybody else.
And how would this facility or this hub be staffed? Would there be staff there? How would it be, how would the youth be supervised?
They are looking at volunteers to start with to have this up and running. And I think it depends on how the program develops.
And speaking of the program, like you mentioned foosball and computer games, et cetera, would there be any kind of intellectual learning opportunities or any type of activities where youth could discuss issues of the day, if you will?
From what I understand, they would love to be able to offer that type of enrichment to the children. It depends on, again, what they're allowed, what they have.
And so, Krista, let me start again. So there was talks about maybe partnering with the Elsa Craig Art Center because they have a youth program there. So that was a good start. We told Krista to look into. It's my understanding that it would serve children between the ages of 12 to 18. So we wouldn't run into the issue of needing ratios. And it would be led by primarily volunteers, with Krista being the main volunteer.
Right, and I think it's an excellent idea. I do have some curiosity in terms of how it will be staffed, given that the attendees may have varying degrees of need or requiring different levels of support. That's my question.
So it's at the very, very beginning stages. Krista just wants to look. She recognized that there is a need. How that need is to be fulfilled still remains.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Keel, and then Councillor Irwin.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. In response to Council Cornelison's question, there was no talk whatsoever with relating to Craigwell Youth Services at that presentation. But it's not all about having games and foosball and whatnot. It was also going to supply resources and resource information to youth as need be. And as Councillor Nerd had expressed, that it is in the development stage, it's very early. And but the organizer of this whole thing has done quite a bit of research at this point in time, and she has spoke to many other outlying areas that have done the same thing. So she's just trying to get a pattern and see how it fits Elsa Craig and area.
Okay. Councillor, just a minute. Councillor Irwin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Could we invite Ms. Munn at a future meeting? She can do a presentation. We can share some thoughts with her at that time.
So I would think right now she's just getting started, just looking for our, and I agree that when we get further down the road that we would like to have Krista come to council and whoever's with her at that time to bring that forward to us, to answer a lot of questions that there is no answer to. Councillor Canellis.
And that was the intent of my questions, was to help people be aware of the other issues that may arise and the type of supports that may be needed for a facility such as this.
Absolutely. Any other questions on this? We have a recommended motion, and that is a council support Krista Munn investigating a youth hub in Elsa Craig. Moved by Councillor Daigle, seconded by Councillor Nerda. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next one, the Policy Review Committee. We had a meeting today, and the chair can speak to that.
We had a very long meeting today, actually. Breakfast was good, thank you. No, we covered a lot of territory, and we have some interesting policies that come forward from that meeting, but they're not here yet this evening.
No. Okay, Fire Committee. Okay. We have a recommended motion off of that amended terms to be considered as a bylaw amendment during the reading of the bylaws. Okay. That's during the reading of bylaws. We have minutes from January 24th. Amended terms of reference. What is that? That's just, I'm sorry. That is the Fire Committee minutes. Sorry, is any questions on that? I'm sorry, but okay. Budget Committee, there's nothing there. Community Development Fund, nothing there. Aqua Advisory, nothing there. and Middlesex County OPP. Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Just a couple of things here, Mayor Rob. We got, that's last week I sat and looked at 23 resumes that were sent to us for the public appointees for this board. Between Carolyn and I, we picked out two. I won't say who they are, what they are, because they may not be the ones that will get chosen by the other reps and other things. So it, that's where it's going forward. So other than that, I haven't heard nothing. Thank you.
23, that's a lot of uptake on that. There's a lot of interest in.
It was very, sorry, it was very interesting to see the wide variety of applicants for that.
Okay. Nice. Okay, correspondence. I have nothing here. Other and urgent business, other business. Councillor Irwin.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a couple of questions. So I can ask them in turn. The first one is, in terms of the fiber optic companies that have been installing, do we have a sense of when they're going to go back and remedy the property damage to property owners and repair to the roads? What's the schedule for that?
Jaden, I think that's probably for you, that question.
Yeah, thank you, through your worship. So we have regular meetings with them, and as we get complaints or as we see issues, we do send them to them and ask them to address those as soon as possible. I think with it being spring, we will likely be reaching out to them again and following up on a few of the ones that we're waiting for them to still clean up. So I don't have a specific timeline, but I know they're still out there working, and they still have some structures to be installed and other work that they're doing, and then prior to a final restoration. But we are in constant communication with them on that issue.
Follow up?
Follow up on that, and then additional question. So is there a point of contact that I can direct them towards when I continually get phone calls? I know there's two companies. Is there a single point of contact that they can call?
Through the mayor, yes, and I can provide that contact to council should they be getting those inquiries. They should go directly to North Frontenac Telephone Company, and then they can direct them to the either their contractor, but ultimately they're responsible for the restoration. So I'll provide that information to council.
Okay. Other business?
Yes, Your Worship. I'm asking at a future meeting, not tonight, if we can get an update report on the Queen Street water main replacement, some timelines and expectations. People in the community are wondering when that will start, how long that will be, etc.
Through the mayor, we can certainly bring a quick or bring an update on that project to council. I'll note right now we're just working on finalizing the design for that and looking to get that tendered in the near future now that the budget was recently passed. So I can bring an update to the next meeting with more information.
Perfect. Okay, one more.
One more question. I get three, like three wishes. All right. Your Worship, I'm looking forward to the report from the treasurer at some point on past capital projects. We talked about that. How many are outstanding? And I think tonight's presentation from Aqua again solidifies why we should have that kind of information, because inflationary costs, et cetera, we just aren't sure where that's going to land at some point.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Through your worship, I think that you'll notice on the items that I thought they were listed here on the outstanding items. Anyway, that, oh, I'm sorry, the communications, the outstanding one, it did mention the report. Now, I would say that they're separate reports and they'll be brought forward by, I'm sure our treasurer will be involved, but they'll be likely provided by the main staff member involved. Specifically, if we're talking the Park Hill Fire Hall, Brandon would be involved together with our treasurer. So I'm not seeing those as one report, but a separate one on each one for those three main ones. If you're thinking of something else, I'm not aware.
I am thinking of something else, if I can clarify, Your Worship. I asked in budget time for our 2023, 2022, 2021, et cetera, capital projects that we had approved but not started. I'd like to see how many are outstanding and what dollar amounts there are, because I know there's inflationary factors built into them, and I'd like to have that information on a go-forward basis. And again, Aqua's presentation tonight talked about inflationary pressures, COVID, et cetera. I think we had some issues of our own here. The scoreboard at the arena was a good example. Something that was approved in 2019 came forward in 2023 at 3 times the original cost. So I think we need that information.
Through your worship again, as council is aware, our Treasury Department is running at its best that it possibly can based on the staff level at this point in time. To put anything else on our treasurer at this point would, I think, almost be unfair. Certainly, as soon as we have staff complement, we'll certainly get this report to you. I think our treasurer would agree with that.
Yeah. Estelle.
Through your worship, yes, I do agree with that. But having said that, I believe I sent you all an email last week informing you that I have hired a consultant who will be helping me to get caught up, and had a meeting with him today. I am very, very confident that his help will be a great asset to me. For your information, his main project will be preparing for year end, and that is one report in 2023 that is part of our year end reporting. So it will be looked at soon.
Okay, thank you. Comment to that? Okay, Councilor Nerda.
Thank you, Your Worship. This question is for you, Vance. I'm going to put you on the spot. We have 370 kilometers of municipal roads. How do we prioritize what roads are graded first or looked after first?
Through your worship, we patrol those roads to determine which roads are the worst. And secondly, just through the crew and with the grader operators that are out there, they understand which roads are the busiest. So we're making every effort to get to our busiest roads first, and then prioritize them from there to the least busiest.
Okay. Follow-up question to that, or comment, I should say. New Ontario Road is probably traveled more now that the bridge is out. I don't know if you or your staff have taken a drive down there, but it is quite terrible. And I can only imagine New Ontario starting from number 7 all the way to Petty Street, to Queen Street. It's quite bad.
Okay. We will ensure that is made priority so that the road is safe for the motoring public.
Especially when traffic is now using that road to get to Elsie Craig and to get to Nairn, that the bridge is out.
Certainly, we've focused on that area, but I will make sure and I will patrol that road tomorrow and have a look at that for sure. Yep.
Thank you, Vance.
Carolyn.
I just wanted to bring 2 things to council's attention. I've been asked to sit on the County Middlesex Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors. And I did bring it to the mayor's attention. And I did accept the appointment. Certainly I will be providing council then updates of what is happening on the board and as much as I can. And so I'll give regular updates on that. At this point, I haven't had a meeting yet. But as soon as I do, I'll certainly provide that update. The other thing is that I did send council an update with regard to one of our grants. We did receive approval for the grant with regards to the creation of a new daycare facility within the community center in Park Hill. We'll be working with Pine Tree Daycare to create a not-for-profit daycare facility within that facility. And I'll provide more updates as things go along. It's still, we've just received notification, so it's just an infancy stage of getting that project.
Okay. Estelle.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to answer Councillor Nelson's question in regards to the education property tax rates. 2024 remain the same as they were in 2023. There is no increase.
Any other business this time? I have one question I meant to ask clerk before this. We have always questions about stray cats. And do we have a number or a phone number or anything for looking after stray cats? I know that Loba doesn't do it, but I thought there was a place we knew of. And I'm just wondering if we can put that on our website or something, or is that?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. We don't have a municipal contract to deal with stray cats as in the same manner that we do with our pound keeper for dogs. We have done our own research on available services in the area. There is a cat sanctuary, it appears in Thetford, that we generally direct to, but they have their contact information on the web. I don't know if we were to look into developing something municipally through them, or if it was just what council would like to do.
I was just asking, I mean, we always have, where can we take these cats? Like, where can we take a cat? And that was the only place that I knew of. And I just wondered, and is there a cost, do we know, is there a cost for people to take a stray cat there?
Thank you, and through you. When I do receive these kinds of calls, I have directed them to, it's called For the Love of Luna in Thetford. I haven't had anyone follow up with me to say that they're inactive or that there was a cost or any follow-up information, but I would encourage residents to do their own research in that regard, and we'd be happy to assist and facilitate that research if they need help.
Okay, thank you. That's enough talk about stray cats. Any other business? No other business? Sorry, Councillor Daigle?
Is our new bylaw officer up and running to take complaints right now?
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship. Our new bylaw officer will be appointed through our bylaws tonight, and he started this past Monday. The bylaw inbox has been active this entire time and has been monitored by staff. So if there are complaints, residents are encouraged to submit those and they will be added to the caseload.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other business? Seeing none, deferred items from the previous meeting. You'll see that list that Councillor Irwin talked about is 10.3. Communication, including county council, to have highlights from March 26th, April 9th, and the summary from the health unit on March 21st. Any questions on that? Seeing none. Reading of the bylaws. You get to do that.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. That bylaws 033 of 2024, 034 of 2024, 035 of 2024, 036 of 2024 be read first and second time.
First and second. Deputy Mayor Hodgins, Councillor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. And third and final, Councillor Nerda, Councillor Keogh, all in favor? Carried. This time I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session. And it is for Municipal Act 3.1, Education and Training, Municipal Act 2K, Instruction to be applied for negotiations. Go ahead.
Sorry, Your Worship, to interrupt. There was a few bylaws left off of the third and final reading, and I'm sure that the deputy clerk would like to amend that motion to reflect that.
Through you, Your Worship. Yes, the third and final reading was also meant to include 016 of 2024, 017 of 2024, 028 of 2024 as well.
All right, somebody to amend that. Councillor Daigle. Oh, Councillor Cornelison, you raise your hand to cough. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. You got that one in before you leave the last meeting. Before you go, you got that in. Nice. Okay, again, I need a motion to go into closed session for the reasons I stated. Councillor Nerda and Councillor Daigle, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we'll just wait and we'll go into close. And